Hello my friends, if you're wondering what an elf, a dwarf and a human are doing together, wrong script. Hello my good friends, if you're wondering what Need for Speed 4, Doom 3, an Athlon and a Core 2 are doing on the same table, the answer to this grand question is this package right here. Because inside this package I have a graphics card that I've been looking for, waiting for and desiring for 2 years. Okay, given how big this package is, you might have thought it was something like an RTX 5090, but don't worry, it's something much better. Just look at this packaging. The person I got it from packed everything extremely well. I'll show you in a pinch. And here is the video card, wrapped up in all these foamy layers. I don't think I ever seen a better packaging before. And now what I have here is a wonderful GeForce 2 Titanium from Inno3D. A little bit about this card. It's the 4th fastest GPU released by Nvidia in 2001, weaker than the GeForce 2 Ultra, but stronger than the Pro and the GTS, not to mention the GeForce 2 MX. It has 64MB of VRAM, which is important because I have a GeForce 2 GTS with 32MB and you can definitely tell it needs more video memory. As you can see, the card is in a mint condition, spotless, not a speck of dust on it. The guy who sold it to me took great care of it. He did all the necessary maintenance, changed the thermal paste, refurbished the fan, cleaned it, absolutely gorgeous. Okay, now what I'm going to do is test this graphics card on two systems. The first one is an Socket A system, something you could have owned when this card was released. The CPU is an Athlon 1100, if I'm not mistaken, and it came out before this video card, so this could have been a real system back in 2001. I want to see how the card performs on a period accurate system, especially compared to the amazing integrated graphics on this motherboard, an SIS Mirage. Once we check the performance on the older PC, I will test it on a Core 2 Duo system to see the true potential of this video card. And yes, I'll even take it to 2004 and the legendary Doom 3. It makes sense to play this game on this card because back in 2004 when Doom 3 was released, I had a weaker card, a GeForce 2 MX 400, probably with a 64-bit memory bus, awful. But let's see what this card is capable of. But please bear with me, because this is a Socket A system, and installing the CPU and the cooler can be tricky. Back then Athlons were cheaper and didn't have heat spreaders, so you have to align everything perfectly, otherwise you could crack the die and ruin everything. First, I need to get this part in place. You think that after doing this for years I have learned some tricks, but no, I did not learn anything. That being said, even though I didn't learn anything, I've never ruined the motherboard or chipped the CPU, and I hope that today isn't the first time. And it worked. Okay, great, I'm using 1GB of DDR400 memory, but honestly DDR400 is useless because as far as I know, the CPU has a 100MHz FSB, someone correct me if I'm wrong. Now, the trick with this graphics card and why it's somewhat unique is that it needs some microSD card adapters to work. Let me show you. There we go, adapters are in, card is ready. And now, the moment of truth. Will it power on or not? By the way, I had to remove a memory stick because I'll be using Windows 98, which has a 512MB limit. Plus, this motherboard doesn't support dual channel. I'll also reset the BIOS, better to be safe than sorry. And nope, it won't start. Let's troubleshoot step by step, starting with the memory. Nope. Ooh, yikes, I heard the spark. I hope that this wasn't the CPU. Please like and subscribe so I can revive the CPU. Thank you. After some failed tries, I've decided to try another motherboard with an Athlon XP 2000 Plus, and it works. So, the video card is fine. I'm switching to socket 370 and a Pentium 3 at 800 MHz. It's better this way. Let's check the system specs. This is the motherboard, a DFI, a Pentium 3 Coppermine CPU at 800 MHz with 256 KB of level 2 cache, and the Nvidia GeForce 2 Titanium released in 2001. I don't remember playing Need for Speed 4 at home, but I definitely played it a lot at internet cafes. But what is this? Is this the menu? It looks really weird. Okay, let's try Need for Speed 3 instead. But no, these Need for Speed games have serious issues. Let's play some Crazy Taxi. The game stutters like crazy, go figure, 20 FPS sometimes, and it's also laggy. The performance is terrible. I can't believe I can't even play Crazy Taxi properly on a Pentium 3 and a GeForce 2 Titanium. Maybe it's the CPU? 800 isn't the fastest, but still. What do you guys think? Should it be running like this? Is the game not optimized properly or what? Ooh, such bad weather, I love it. The forest looks amazing, but also these 2D JPEG people. The game runs great and looks great, and thankfully I have my co-driver here with me, even though I have no clue what he's saying. What? Stay on the road? Well, thank you, sir. I've lost my right backlight, the car is a wreck, but hey, look at this lighting. Dynamic lighting. Take that, Doom 3. And now for an amazing game, Aliens vs Predator 2. Look at that Predator, lurking in that beacon, a tower, a shower. You cannot leave those teeth unbrushed. I can't even describe the feelings I had playing this game in the early 2000s. I was absolutely fascinated. And look at this, such a vast open area, huge distant cliffs, and something flying over there, probably some missing texture or something. The Predator is supposedly up there somewhere, shooting projectiles at me from that something. And now let's do a bit of environmental storytelling. I don't know if you've noticed, but this thing looks a lot like an alien. When it's down, it almost looks like the back of an alien's head. And these hanging things that deal damage, they add to the same feeling. For myself, I'll be hiding in this corner and wait for the creatures to come. Let's see. If I step into their blood, does anything happen? Yeah, I take damage. Nice. Okay, that's enough horror for tonight, and I'm not referring to the Socket A incidents. So, what's the deal? Well, the game runs fine, sometimes, not always. During intense fights, the frame rate drops below 20 FPS. Let's do a final test using all these flares. Yeah, the game is running terribly now. I think I just killed this poor video card. But I wasn't happy with the performance, especially I had installed a somewhat newer Forceware 60 Plus driver. After some trial and error, I figured out both the Need for Speed issues and the poor performance. I've installed an older Detonator 41 driver along with DirectX 9 and boom, Need for Speed 3 is working. What do you guys think about the graphics in this game? To me, it looks amazing. Just look at this snow, everything is so clean and white. But I don't get it, why is this road so narrow? Come on people, make the roads wider. I can't even drive properly. How many Ferraris do you guys think I've driven in real life to be able to handle the card on this tiny road? So yeah, if you want to play Need for Speed 3 on a GeForce 2 Titanium with a Pentium 3 at 800 MHz, it will be a great experience. But for some reasons, the max in resolution is 800 by 600. No idea why. I remember the game could use a higher resolution. We need some HD pack or something to play at 1600 by 1200. Diablo 2 is way easier than Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, especially after patch 1.10 when the game became harder. With Lord of Destruction, Blizzard really decided to ruin our lives, especially in Hell difficulty. They made it brutally hard even at the start. I think the game stuttered at first because the area was still loading. Maybe it's still reading from the CD and not fully loaded on the hard drive, or maybe the game engine itself just isn't well optimized, I don't know. Is the game lagging or running? It's lagging while running. And I've always wondered, why do zombies want brains? Is it because they don't have any, or because theirs are so tiny that they're jealous and want others to be brainless too? I still haven't figured this one out. As always, the starting area in this game is brutal and runs terrible. Also, my companion just died, rest in peace. And look at these barrels exploding, in glorious 10 FPS, amazing. I don't understand this language, my friends. I don't know any German. Van Halen? Van der Vaart? Oh wait, those are Dutch. Never mind, Nietzsche.
Dostoevsky.
My comrade, I went exactly where you told me, and nothing happened. Where am I supposed to go? Oh wait, here they come, the perfect ambush, but nothing a retro gun can fix. Medal of Honor runs well, as expected. And the next game also runs on eTech 3, and just look at how beautiful Return to Castle Wolfenstein looks. I can't believe it looks this good at 1024x768 on this 21-inch display. The visuals are stunning for 2001, timeless graphics, and this means less time creating the graphics, more time enhancing the gameplay. Good job. And as I try to move and shoot, I notice something weird. Aside from the frame rate, the cursor jumps around, is not precise at all. I think it's the mousepad. Let me try a close one, the classic Steel series. Ah, much better. The mouse was behaving weird before, now it's better but still not perfect. Seriously, when I move the camera with this mouse, it jumps in steps, and no, it's not VSync. So how's the performance? Take a look. 40 FPS at 1024x768 maximum settings. A 2001 game running on a 2001 GPU with a decently fast CPU. But that's nothing, watch this. 1600x1200 maximum settings. Nobody was playing at this resolution in 2001, and look at this. Crystal clear and still smooth, even in combat. Still, I can't believe I'm playing Return to Castle Wolfenstein at this resolution, on these settings, on this PC, with this performance. Amazing! And this is exactly what I was talking about. The GeForce 2 Titanium is an absolutely incredible card. but let's test 16-bit versus 32-bit. 37 FPS at 32-bit color, and 37 FPS at 16-bit color. Wait, the frame rate is the same? So performance doesn't change between 16-bit and 32-bit because we're bottlenecked by the CPU, right? Am I wrong? So we have no performance differences, but we have visual differences. The clouds look awful. But yet again, they do have a certain charm. They look just like that scene in Dragon Ball Super when Zeno erased Zamasu, when Zamasu became one with the universe. Awful episode, I know. Now I want to test anti-aliasing, and just so you know, anti-aliasing only became viable around the GeForce 4 area, but it wasn't truly useful until the 6000 series. And look at this, please, huge performance drop. By the way, I'm using a Core 2 Duo here. So, on a GeForce 2 Titanium, using 4x anti-aliasing, performance drops by 4 times. 4x anti-aliasing, 4x less FPS. And obviously, 2x anti-aliasing halves the performance. It's easy to remember, but the easiest thing to remember is this. Don't use anti-aliasing on a GeForce 2. And let's move on to some newer games. I've played a lot of GTA 3 on my GeForce 2 MX, and trust me, it didn't run well at all. In GTA 3 the CPU matters a lot. So yeah, I did expect freezes, but wow, these freezes are next level. It stutters every 2 seconds, it runs terrible. Of course, GTA 3 has some settings we can tweak. Trails in GTA 3 is this weird motion blur effect that makes the game look worse and run even worse. Just look at this performance, it feels terrible. Even though it shows 20 FPS, the game freezes every second, not to mention the blur effect. Who designed this setting and thought it was a good idea? I guess on PlayStation 2 it looked better and didn't tank performance this much. And now let's test GTA 3 using a Core 2 Duo E6600, a much faster CPU than the Pentium 3. And yeah, GTA 3 is actually pretty demanding even with a fast CPU. I expected the GeForce 2 Titanium to handle GTA 3 better, but the game wasn't very well optimized. Actually, Vice City runs better. I've switched to 16-bit, and while it does feel a bit smoother, I'm still getting these strange stutters. At first I thought it was because of the Pentium 3 and the SD RAM, but now I'm running DDR2 with a Core 2 Duo, and it still stutters. So, this is how GTA 3 runs on a GeForce 2 Titanium, plus a Core 2 Duo at 1024x768, 16-bit, maximum draw distance, okay? When Underground first came out, I played it on the low settings at 20 FPS max. I remember my neighbor had a GeForce 2 Titanium, and I was jealous. I was convinced he could play the game way better than me. But not just that, I also thought that if he had a GeForce 2 Titanium, he could enable certain settings in Underground that I couldn't. And not being able to use all the visual settings in games in the 2000s was one of my worst nightmares. However, the GeForce 2 Ti doesn't support pixel shaders. If you check the specs online, it literally says pixel shader .5. So yeah, you can't enable car headlights, crowds, light trails, motion blur. But the game runs incredibly well, even at maximum settings, at 1024x768. Surprisingly well actually, good job card. Now, Underground is known for being CPU heavy, so having a Core 2 Duo definitely helps. Still, the video card handles it much better than expected, 40 FPS, no stutters, and that's huge. Underground runs beautifully, I'm impressed. And speaking of impressive, check this out, an impressive game from 2004, 3 years after the GeForce 2 Ti, Far Cry. At 1024x768 32-bit low to medium settings, it runs pretty well, but visually we're not being entertained. Just look at how terrible the water looks near the shore, awful. And the vegetation pops in right in front of you. It does not look amazing, and yet here we are playing a high-end 2004 game on it. That being said, if you want to play Far Cry, do not use a GeForce 2. I thought about trying 1600x1200, but I don't want to kill the video card. The final boss, Doom 3. At 640x480, yeah, it's blurry and pixelated, but it runs at 50 FPS. And if this does not amaze you, I don't know what would. It runs well, way better than I remember playing it on my GeForce 2 MX400 back in the day. And in areas without people or enemies, a solid 60 FPS, the engine's maximum frame rate. One thing I love about Doom 3 is how it makes you backtrack through areas. The first time everything is cool and quiet, then afterwards everything goes sideways. You're going through these exact same areas, but now it's filled with demons and zombies. Doom 3 runs great on a GeForce 2, on minimum settings of course. Honestly, I could have beaten this game in 2004 and 2005 if I had the GeForce 2 Titanium. But with my GeForce 2 MX, it turned into a horror game. An enemy would appear, I'd shoot, the game would freeze for 2 seconds, and that was it, unplayable. GeForce 2 Titanium, my friends. A beautiful, clean, fast, nostalgic and retro GPU. Just look at it. Those yellow-green capacitors, that tiny cute cooler. Gorgeous. Of course, I'm not going to actually use this card in a build. It's going on the shelf for shelf keeping. It has decent performance, but hey, I'm not always looking for performance. I'm here for the hardware itself. Thank you all for watching this long video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and until next time, have fun and be nostalgic.